Hello, welcome to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and local partners, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. This is episode 190. So we are looking at the news of the last few weeks. What is it that we can learn in the news that we can apply to our organizations, to our families, to help us be a little bit safer in cyberspace? So let's just dig into it. I got a variety of things that we're going to talk about today. That's not the one I want to start with. Let me skip over here to the side. First of all, CrowdStrike. Many of you are going to know CrowdStrike from the Microsoft update challenge that they had from a month ago. Or a couple months ago, maybe now. But CrowdStrike is a well-known cybersecurity company, and they put out an annual report. This one is a threat hunting report, and it has a lot of information in the report, and I'll provide this link to their press release, and you can go from here to actually download the report if you're interested in reading it, which I recommend it. But the headline is what I wanted to highlight. Nation states exploit legitimate credentials to pose as insiders. That's what the threat hunting report found. That was their main takeaway. And I want to expand on that. You know, if I send you an email saying I'm a Nigerian prince and I have money to give you, everybody knows that's fake now. Everybody knows that's a scam, and everybody knows to be on the lookout for it. But what you don't know is if it is truly your CEO, if it is truly your accountant, if it is truly somebody on your team that is asking for something, you may believe it. You may think it's a legitimate request. So what we need to do is to be on alert no matter when, because if the bad guys are posing as insiders, which means bad guys are posing as employees, then we don't know where that bad guy is, so we always have to be careful. And let me give a real example of that. There have been companies that I've talked with where somebody stole email credentials, and instead of trying to steal all their emails, they just watched their email activity for multiple days. And then they started seeing trends, and then they started to see, what can I do to actually to exploit and to steal and to make the most harm. And maybe it is something within that company, or maybe they see another user at a different company that, oh, well, let me see if I can exploit that person, because then I can even do more harm with that credential. And they kind of do a stair step up on bad credentials. Anyway, my whole point with that is be careful. There's a real challenge. It's business email compromise, but there's a real challenge of the bad guys, of the threat actors, stealing credentials and just posing as insiders. So if your true accountant asked you to change a password or change a routing bank routing number, you might believe that more than if it was somebody that was fake that would never do that. You just got to be careful. Related to that, another Malwarebytes, another cybersecurity company, put out a report, and their study said that most ransomware attacks happen between the hours of 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. So why would they do that? Why would most cyber attacks happen at night? This is in the 2024 State of Ransomware report. Well, it would make sense that you would want to attack a company when nobody is there. What is the time that the least number of IT people are going to be working? 1 to 5. You know, even if IT people are night owls, surely they're in bed by 1 because they got to be back at work by 7 or 8. So that 1 to 5 window is a great time for a bad guy to attack a company. That means they can make sure they get all the things done that they need to do in their attack, launch their ransomware, collect data, do whatever they need to do, and then they can get out and maximum havoc wreaked before anybody gets in the office to address it. That's common. On the weekends, you'll see that a lot as well, so that people can get done, or attackers can get their attack over with before anybody is the wiser. Just a challenge, something to keep in mind. Related again to attacks. This is specifically talking about energy and water. First of all, this report or this survey found that the recovery is now costing $3 million for those two sectors. But the piece that I really want you to keep in mind, because you're probably watching this and thinking, I'm not energy and I'm not water sector, so what's it matter to me? 49% of ransomware attacks against these two critical infrastructure sectors started with an exploited vulnerability. Your organization needs to ensure that you're taking the time to review and look for vulnerabilities on your system. If you're not actively reviewing vulnerabilities or scanning for vulnerabilities or patching vulnerabilities, then you're leaving yourself open to potential problems. Half of these. Now, I haven't read all the details to know of these 49%, and I'm not sure that they actually asked this question. Did these 49% of ransomware attacks that exploited vulnerabilities, were there patches for those vulnerabilities, or were they just vulnerabilities that didn't have 0-day vulnerabilities, if you will? I don't know that answer, but what I do know is that almost half exploited vulnerabilities. The more that we can close and eliminate vulnerabilities, the better off and the more secure that we're going to be. So definitely keep that in mind. All right, so the next two are related. Nearly a third of companies suffered a software as a service data breach in the last year. So first of all, software as a service. We talk a lot, we IT folks in general talk a lot about outsourcing things to the cloud. That if we outsource to the cloud, then we're going to be covered. Actually, if we outsource to the cloud, then I don't even have to worry about the security because the cloud company will. Or the service provider that we have will take care of that. Well, a third of those companies suffered a data breach in the last year. A third. So what that means is that if that software as a service company suffered a data breach, then you probably suffered a data breach. How many software, SaaS companies are you using? A lot of small companies use a bunch, probably more than 3, maybe 5 or 6. If you're using 6 different companies, then this data says perhaps 2 of them had a data breach. What was the impact on you? Were you notified? Do you know what's going on? That challenge is something that you have to keep in mind in your cybersecurity planning. Just because that data has been offloaded to somebody else doesn't mean that you get a pass. It means that your risk management and your risk analysis has to be different because you don't control the systems. It's still your data. If your customers have a data breach because of a SaaS provider, you're going to be the ones held accountable, not that SaaS provider. And if you want an example of that, the AT&T data breach is a great example of that. The AT&T data breach that happened a few months ago was not attack against AT&T itself. It was an attack against a cloud provider that they were using to host some of that data. Same thing that we're just talking about with the SaaS provider. That just because it's not part of your organization doesn't mean you get to dismiss it. You have to be careful. You have to be looking at it. You have to analyze it and think about what is it about this outsourced provider that provides risk to my organization, and how do we mitigate that? Keep that in mind. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say there. I think these are really important and really interesting. If you have questions on these, reach out to me, let me know, and we can talk through it a little bit more. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week back here on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.